Hello everyone. Thank you so much for attending the webinar today. We will be discussing how to master email deliverability. Before we start the webinar, I hope the audio and the video are both clear and that there are no communication issues whatsoever. In case there are any issues, please let us know immediately so that we can fix it before we carry on with the webinar. All right, thank you so much for attending the webinar today, where we will be discussing how to master email deliverability. My name is Sarvesh, and I am a product marketer with Zoho Campaigns. In case you have any questions along the course of the webinar, please feel free to ask us, and we will constantly be answering all your questions. Either I or one of my colleagues who's helping me out with the webinar will constantly be answering all your questions. Before we start, I would like to make sure the audio is okay and you can see the video clearly as well. In case you can, please let us know in the chat box or by raising your hand so that we can carry on with the webinar. In case there are any issues with communication, please let us know that as well so that we can fix it as soon as we can. Also, a recording of this webinar will be sent to you via mail as early as we can send it out. So please look forward to that as well. In case of feedback about this webinar, you can send an email. My email address is sarvesh.ck@zohocorp.com. You can also tweet to me. My Twitter handle is @sarveshck. So without further ado, let's get the webinar started. On today's agenda, we have email authentication, which is one of the most fundamental things, but also one of the most important things that you can do to drastically improve your email deliverability. So we are going to first look at what is email authentication. Then we are going to discuss why you need to authenticate your domains, why you need to set up email authentication, and then we'll take a look at how to set up email authentication. The next thing we'll look at is the biggest problems that email marketers encounter while they're using an email marketing software. And after that, we'll discuss how to get rid of these problems and how to make sure that these problems don't come back. So we are going to discuss the cure for the problems as well as the prevention. After which, I have a few tips from my team here at Zoho Campaigns that I would be sharing with you, some of the best practices that you can follow when you're sending out email campaigns. And finally, we are going to talk a little bit about how to use merge tags to your advantage. I know it looks a little bit out of place right now, but at the end, I will let you know how you can use merge tags to improve your email deliverability and make sure every single email that you send out definitely lands in your subscribers' inbox. So first, let's take a look at email authentication. First things first, no one likes spam. The recipients get annoyed by it and they opt out of your email campaigns and your mailing list as early as they can. So to prevent all of that, the email service providers themselves have a few anti-spam filters in place just to make sure that people who are using these email service providers do not receive any spam whatsoever. So, uh, services like Gmail and Outlook, they have their own anti-spam filters. And what that does is sometimes your legitimate email will also be filtered out by these anti-spam filters. And this is where email authentication comes in. What it does is, first of all, it tries to, you know, convince the email service provider that the email is coming from a genuine source, and so it improves your deliverability drastically. The second thing it does is it helps build a level of trust between you and your subscribers by establishing authenticity. So every time your subscribers receive an email from you, they know that it is genuinely coming from you and it is not someone else pretending to be you. So talking about people pretending to be you, email authentication also brings down any form of phishing or spamming which can otherwise tarnish your domain's image. So a lot of times people use very similar looking domains to send out spam emails, and the backlash for that is usually received by the parent domain. So if someone is pretending to be the bank that I use and sends me an email, the bad reputation for that will go to the bank itself and not to the person spamming me. So email authentication also makes sure that none of that happens. So in case your domain is authenticated, anyone who's pretending to be part of your organization, if they send an email to me, it will be blocked out by the email service providers. And there are two aspects to email authentication. The first of which is SPF, which stands for Sender Policy Framework, and the second one is DKIM, which stands for Domain Key Identified Mail. So let's look at what SPF does. So every time you send out an email, what happens is it goes from the sender, it goes to a particular server that is used for sending that email. And then from that server, it goes to your recipient or your subscriber. And what sender policy framework does is it establishes a relationship between the sender and the server, so that every time an email is sent, the server knows that it is coming from an authentic source. And so when your recipient receives it, when your subscriber receives it, their email service provider can cross check to see if it is coming from the designated server or not. So to encapsulate, when you send an email, it goes to a server and then it goes to your recipient. You tell the server that it is definitely only you who's sending the email and that it's not someone else pretending to be you. And when it reaches the recipient, they check once again to see if it is coming from the right server. The next one is DKIM, which, as I said, is a domain key identified mail. What that does is it allows you to sort of digitally sign your email. Technically, what happens is when you send out an email, you uh, encrypt it and you send it out with a private key. And when your recipient receives your email, they will unwrap all those security layers, and which is decrypting your email. And they have their own public key that they can cross check with the private key. So basically, what DKIM does is, first of all, it allows you to digitally include a signature in your email, so that when your subscriber receives your email, they know that it is definitely coming from you. And the second thing it does is it wraps your email in multiple security layers to make sure that your email does not get tampered with at any stage of, starting from sending the email till the point where your recipient receives it. It makes sure that your email is not tampered with. And this serves four purposes that I can think of right now. First of all, if I receive an email from someone who has set up SPF and DKIM authentication, I know that the sender ID it is coming from is valid. Second of all, I know that the domain that I am receiving it from is also authorized. And thirdly, I am completely sure that the email has not been tampered with. And all of this ensures that there is no way that this email can be spoofed by someone else, some other spammer who's pretending to be the sender. Of late, another concept that is being enforced widely is DMARC, DMARC, which stands for Domain-Based Authentication Reporting and Conformance. Although it sounds like a lot of fancy jargon, what it does is it assigns specific priority to your email. So if you have both SPF and DKIM set up, it is DMARC approved already. So your emails will be sent at the highest possible priority to your subscribers. And in case you do not have SPF, you don't have SPF or DKIM authenticated, then your emails will not get the highest priority. They will be sent at a much lower priority. And if you have neither of those authenticated, there's a very high chance that it will internally get discarded even before it is sent out. So it is extremely advisable that you set SPF and DKIM up in your email marketing account, so that first of all, your emails have a greater level of security. Second of all, you're authenticating your domain and your emails so that your recipients definitely know that it is coming from you. And thirdly, your emails receive the highest possible priority while they're being sent. And all of these drastically improve the deliverability rate. So now that we've discussed what SPF and DKIM are, let's take a quick look at how to set it up. So in case of Zoho campaigns, it's extremely easy to set it up. It only takes a couple of steps to set up SPF and DKIM authentication. So if you log in to your Zoho campaigns account, this is the first screen that you see, which is the dashboard. You can find all the major modules on the left. So you can find campaigns and subscribers, automation library, reports, and so on. And right at the end, at the bottom, you will find the settings tab. And once you click the settings tab, you'll see multiple options. One of the options is it says manage senders. And once you click that, you will be led to this particular screen. And on top, you can see two tabs, the first of which is sender address, and the second one is domain authentication. So once you click domain authentication, you will be led to this screen where you can see if your domain is both SPF and DKIM authenticated. And if it is not, all you need to do is click the setup option right here. And once I click that, I will see this pop up. So every domain has its own DNS setting, which is domain name service setting. And all you need to do is you need to add these two records to your DNS settings, to your domain's DNS settings. So you just click copy, and you've already copied the SPF record, as you can see on top. And you need to go to your DNS settings, to your domain's DNS settings, and add that record. And you can come back to the screen and copy the DKIM record as well. And you can go back and add that to your domain's DNS setting as well. And once you've done both, you can just click verify, and your domain's DNS settings will be verified, and you can see it update on the screen itself. And with that, you've already set up both SPF and DKIM. It's as simple as that. So now that we've seen how to set up email authentication on your email marketing account, let's take a look at some of the biggest problems that email marketers currently face. The first one of those is the cancellation prize winner, and these are unsubscribes. It happens when you send out an email to your subscribers and they opt out of your email campaigns and leave the mailing list. The second one, or the runner-up, is are bounces. That happens when you send an email to an address that does not exist. If someone gave you a wrong email address and you attempt to send an email to that particular address, then it returns as a bounce. So there are two kinds of bounces. There is the soft bounce and then there is the hard bounce. So in case you're sending an email to an account that exists, but let's say you send an email to me and my inbox is already full. In that case, I need to free up space before I can receive your email. So this is your email is only temporarily not reaching my inbox. So in that case, it would count as a soft bounce. But let's say my email address does not exist at all. In that case, there is no way your email will be received by me. And that is called a hard bounce. Then let's talk about the winner, which is possibly the worst email marketing problem that you can encounter. And this is the problem of being reported either as spam or as abuse. Either way, it sets back your domain's reputation by a drastic factor. And this is possibly the worst thing that can happen to an email marketer. So when you're sending out an email and if someone receives your email and they either flag it as spam or report it as abuse, then your email marketing efforts and your deliverability, all of them take a massive hit. The underdog who might win someday is the concept of spam traps. So a lot of times, a lot of people have multiple email accounts, one for personal emails and one for, let's say, newsletters or something like that. And some of them never check their email. So in case you're sending out an email and it does get delivered, but they don't open it, that would count as a spam trap. Creating an email account for the sake of it. And every time you send an email, they do receive it, but there is absolutely no activity whatsoever from that email account. So that would count as a spam trap. And the infamous trophy is the result of what happens when any of these exceed a particular margin, which is your domain will get blacklisted. And once a domain gets blacklisted, it does not matter what emails you send to who and how frequently and so on. Every single email that is going out of your domain once it is blacklisted will definitely not reach anybody's inbox, and it will either be filtered out by the email service providers themselves and end up in spam, or it will be completely discarded. So now that we've seen what the major problems are and what it can result in, let's take a look at how to prevent all of these problems. First, let's start with unsubscribes. More often than not, unsubscribes happen when your subscribers are not interested in the emails that you send to them. But if it is kept in moderation, if there is a very small number of unsubscribes, I would actually prefer it in my mailing list as opposed to completely eliminating unsubscribes. So what that does is when they opt out of my email campaigns, my mailing list is to some extent cleaning itself. So let's say I have 100 subscribers that I send an email to and 10 of them unsubscribe, which means that my email marketing efforts and my time and my resources are better spent focusing on the other 90 people who are actually interested in my email campaigns as opposed to trying to prevent unsubscribes altogether. But of course, if you have a lot of unsubscribes, it means that um, your subscribers did not initially opt into it and you manually added the subscribers or imported them from some other platform. In that case, you might get a lot of unsubscribes. So we'll talk about the prevention in a couple of minutes. Before that, let's take a look at what you should do in case you have a lot of bounces. Once again, in case of bounces, uh, one of the major reasons for that is not verifying the email address before you send out an email campaign. So you need to check if that particular email address exists before you send out an email campaign, and that would prevent bounces. What we do at Zoho Campaigns, in case you send out an email campaign and you get a lot of bounces, so let's say I'm sending an email to about 10,000 subscribers, and in the first 1,000 emails that are sent out, I get about, I don't know, 200 bounces. That's a huge fraction. That's a really huge number amidst 1,000 subscribers. So what Campaigns does is it immediately halts your email campaign, and we try to figure out why you're getting such an unusually high number of bounces and where it went wrong. And once that issue is entirely resolved, then we will resume your email campaign 24 hours later for the rest of your subscribers. The reason we do that is because the more number of bounces you get, the greater chance there is that you are trying to send an email to a general mailing list that people did not opt into. And that is again something that is associated with spam behavior. So we try to pause your email campaign. We try to make sure that your domain's reputation does not take a hit, and that you stay as far as possible from getting your domain blacklisted. So we resolve that entire issue, and then we resume the email campaign for the rest of your subscribers 24 hours later. The next problem, and like I said, the biggest problem that you can encounter is that of being reported or flagged as spam. This, as far as I've seen, happens when people do not include an unsubscribe option in their email. So imagine getting an email that you cannot opt out of. The only way to do that is, to force your way out through the back door. And that happens when that happens, people tend to report your email as abuse or flag it as spam. So in order to get rid of reports, if any, I would suggest using a prominent unsubscribe button either at the top or at the bottom of your email so that people can see it. And if they are genuinely not interested in your emails, they can, simply click unsubscribe, which is far less harmful than being reported as abuse. The last one is the concept of spam trap. And what you can do in case you are getting a lot of spam traps is check for email IDs that look conspicuously suspicious. So in case my mailing list has an email ID that says rogerfederer@gmail.com, I am mostly sure that it is not the actual Roger Federer subscribing for my email campaign. So that is conspicuously suspicious. So try to discard all of those IDs and try to look for typographical errors in the name of the domain or the server, or in terms of the name itself. Just try to look for typographical errors and discard all those contacts, and you should be safe from spam trap hits. Now let's take a look at how to prevent any of these problems from arising in the first place. One thing you can do to prevent unsubscribes, bounces, and reports all at the same time is setting up a double opt-in system. And what a double opt-in system does is every time, so let's say you have uh, your own web page, your own website, where you have a sign-up form where people can sign up using and be part of your mailing list. So every time someone fills up their information in that sign-up form and submits it, they will automatically receive an email asking them to confirm their subscription. And once they receive the email, it will have a link that they should click for, once again affirming that they want to be part of your mailing list and they want to receive an email campaign. And once they click that link, they will be added to the mailing list. So that solves a lot of problems. First of all, when you send an email to them, you are immediately verifying if that email address exists. So there is no way any email address will give you a bounce, will give you a hard bounce. Second of all, they are confirming their subscription once again by clicking that particular link. So That way, there is a very little chance that people will unsubscribe, let alone report you as abuse or flag you as spam. So that is not going to happen either. So once you have set up a double opt-in process, you can prevent unsubscribes, reports, and bounces altogether. And it's extremely easy to set that up using Zoho campaigns. So once again, if we head back to the product, this is the home screen, yet again the dashboard. And on the left, when you click the subscribers tab, you will find the option of sign up forms. And once you click that, you will be led to a screen that shows you a list of all the sign up forms that you've previously created. You can click the create form option on the top right, and you will be led to this particular window, and you can decide what sort of a sign up form you want to create. And you can pick from a lot of templates that we already have preloaded within Zoho campaigns. And you can pick from the compact forms or the long forms. For now, I'm going to pick one of these, and I will be led to the sign up form editor, where I can customize pretty much everything about my sign up form. And once I'm happy with the way the sign up form looks, I can just click save and proceed, where I will be led to this particular window. And here I can customize the behavior of my sign up form. So every time someone fills in their information and clicks submit, I can either lead them to a thank you page immediately, and this as well can be edited, or I can redirect them to a specific URL. Let's say I want to redirect them to a particular landing page on my website. I can do that as well by just entering the URL right here. And as soon as they sign up, like I said, they will receive a confirmation email, and I can customize that email as well, and it will have a link that says confirm subscription. And once they confirm subscription, once again, they can be either led to a thank you page, or if you have another URL in mind, if you have another web page in mind, you can just click this option and give the URL right here. We also have an option where, in case someone has opted out of your mailing list previously and now is trying to join again, then they will be receiving the resubscribe email. And the process is the same as before. As soon as they fill up the sign up form, they will receive this email, and once they click resubscribe, they will be added to your mailing list. So this is essentially the double opt-in process, and it's getting increasingly important in terms of email marketing. So if you're up to date on what is happening in the world of email marketing, one of the major changes coming up is GDPR, and that is a new set of regulations that govern email marketing, and that makes it mandatory to have double opt-in set up. And you also need to save all the sign up details, at what time a particular user signed up to your mailing list, and using what IP and what geographical location, and so on and so forth. So in case you are using Zoho sign up forms, it becomes incredibly easy to save all of that data. And once you've set up the behavior of your sign up form, you can just click save and get code, after which you will be asked to associate your sign up form with a particular mailing list. So every time someone fills in their information and confirms their subscription, you can associate them with a particular mailing list. So let's say I click the newsletter list and I click associate. Every time someone confirms their subscription, their details will be added to the newsletter list that I have previously created. And here I can find various codes that I can just copy and paste within my website wherever I want to publish the sign up form. And once that is done, I can here I can view the response setup. So here, as you can see, as soon as they submit information, they will be led to a sign up thank you page, and they will also receive a confirmation email. And upon confirmation, they will be directed to the confirmation thank you page. So I can once again take a look at the behavior of the sign up form and the process that it follows. And once I've published it, I can track reports using the reports tab right here. So Zoho makes it extremely easy to set up double opt-in without any hassles whatsoever, and that will prevent. Not only will that prevent bounces, unsubscribes, and reports, it will once again increase your deliverability rate drastically, and you don't have to be worrying about being GDPR compliant once all your subscribers are entering only through double opt-ins. Even then, sometimes it so happens that people will confirm their subscription and after that become inactive and use that email address as a spam trap. So what you can do is you can study your subscribers' behavior over the past period of time. So let's say if I've sent out email campaigns over the past 6 months or so, and they have not opened my email at all, then there is a very little chance that the next time I send an email campaign, they will be responsive. Understandably, straight away discarding these subscribers can sometimes backfire. So, what I would suggest is, in case you see someone who has not been active at all for the past few campaigns, for the past few months, what you can do is send maybe 2 or 3 re-engagement campaigns, spaced out adequately to see if they do want to be part of your mailing list. And if they don't respond to that as well, then I suppose it's more efficient to discard these subscribers and focus your resources better on the other subscribers. So now that we've discussed how to prevent any of these problems from coming up, or even getting rid of the problems if you currently have uh, any of these issues that you're facing, I would like to share some of the tips that I received from my team. What the technical staff suggests is to not use blacklisted domains under any circumstances whatsoever. And that only happens when your mailing list is not up to date. So, in case your domain is blacklisted, just immediately stop using that domain for any email marketing related activity whatsoever. Even when you are sending out an email, just try as much as possible to send it from your own domain. So if let's say I have a website that's xyz.com and I'm sending out an email campaign to all of my subscribers, try as much as possible to send it only through xyz.com and not an external provider. But in case you are using another service provider to send your emails and for your email marketing, within the email, try to establish the fact that this is definitely coming from you, but you're using a separate service. So, in case I am sending an email, but it's not coming from XYZ, within the email, I would love to mention that this is definitely me. I am just using an external service to send the email to you. And that way, once again, you can establish a level of trust and you can build a rapport with your subscribers and your recipients. So they're not, they don't mistake your email to be irrelevant and unsubscribe straight away. What the content marketer advises is, of course, about the content, about the subject line of the email and the content of your email. So it's extremely important to keep the subject lines crisp and to the point. A lot of times, some of the terms that are used in the subject line are associated with spam behavior. So in case you're using extremely bombastic, eye-catching subject lines, for instance, if you say you get a 50% off, or click this email to find out some secret, blah blah blah, it is not really relevant to the content, and they will immediately either it will straight away go to spam thanks to the filters that the email service providers have set up. And even if it does reach them, uh, there is a very high chance that they will opt out of your email campaigns and out of your emails. So try to make sure your subject line is concise and gets to the point immediately. One of the tips that I would love to add is that you can use a pre-header every time you're sending out an email campaign. So even before your subscriber opens the email, they get a brief idea as to what the content is about. And when it comes to the content itself, there are of course some fundamental rules that everybody has to follow to be compliant with the regulations, such as you can't use any obscenity or vulgarity in terms of the content. But apart from that, two things that I would specifically like to point out is it is good to have images in your emails. They make your emails look more colorful and vibrant, but it is an extremely bad decision to include only images and nothing else whatsoever, because some of the email service providers tend to block out that image before it is sent to the subscriber. So in case you're using 100% only images and no other text, nothing to accompany the images that you use in your emails, there is a high chance that they will see a blank, your recipients will see a blank screen and opt out immediately. So what you can do is every time you're using an image, try to complement it with relevant text that talks about the same information that you're trying to convey with the email. So even if the images get blocked when I'm receiving the email, I can read through the text and I can infer the same information that some other subscriber might receive. So try to make sure that whenever you use images, accompany it with adequate amount of text. And when you're using links within your email, it is always better to keep it as direct as possible um, at every opportunity. Because sometimes if you use, let's say you use a third party shortening service for your links and you include that in your emails, whenever someone clicks on that shortened link, it undergoes a lot of levels of redirection. So first you click on the shortened link, it takes you to the third party service, and that redirects you to an expanded link. And that's anywhere between 3 to 5 levels of redirection happening as soon as someone clicks a shortened link. And that is one more thing that is associated with spam behavior. So a lot of spammers tend to do that. They tend to include links that keep redirecting from one place to another. So that is another thing that might affect your deliverability rate. So in case you're using URLs and links in your emails, try to make sure they are as direct as possible without any redirection whatsoever. Finally, what the support engineer recommends is it concerns the frequency with which you send out your email campaigns. Now, obviously, it is bad to send out a lot of emails in a very short span of time. You do not want to send out, let's say, 3 or 4 emails a day. In that case, your subscriber might feel overwhelmed, and they might think that you're bombarding them with emails, and they might opt out of your campaign immediately, seeing how many emails they're receiving. So it is not good to send way too many emails in a very short span of time. At the same time, it is also unhealthy to space out your campaigns more than necessary. So in case I send an email right now and my next campaign goes out in, let's say, August or something, there is a very high chance that in the span of the 6 months that I'm giving between those two campaigns, a lot of people have deactivated their email accounts and unsubscribed from my emails and so on and so forth. So when I send out the next campaign, I might get a really high amount of bounces and unsubscribes once again, and I don't want that happening. So it's generally I would suggest sending an email campaign, let's say once a week. So it's not it's not very it's not extremely frequent, but at the same time it's not few and far apart. So it tends to uh, first of all, your recipients and subscribers look forward to your email, and second of all, it keeps updating my mailing list regularly, and that is an extremely healthy practice to follow. So to encapsulate, first and foremost thing that you need to do is set up SPF and DKIM authentication. The second thing you should do is enforce double opt-in. and make sure all your subscribers are coming in only through double opt-in. Include a prominent unsubscribe button in all your emails. If you don't do that, first of all, you might get reported for abuse and flagged as spam. Second of all, that is not even legal. That does not comply with the current regulations in the email marketing world. The next thing you should do is make sure you're sending emails only from your domain. And if you're not, if you're using an external service provider, try to make sure that your recipients know that as well. And then always keep an eye on the content and the subject line of your emails. Try to include a pre-header. That's a very useful practice. And if you're using images, support your images with complementary text, sufficient amount of complementary text, and also send frequent campaigns, um, you know, with a reasonable frequency, of course. Once in a week, once in 2 weeks is a pretty good frequency to have when you're sending out email campaigns. So once you've done all of that, your deliverability will increase exponentially. But in case you want to send every single email, if you want 100% of your emails to be delivered to the inbox, once you've followed all these steps, you can also take up using merge tags to your advantage to make sure all your emails will land only in the inbox. Once again, if I have to repeat myself, please use this step only after you've set up all the previous suggestions that we've discussed so far and all the previous guidelines that you can follow. And once you've complied with all of that, you can use merge tags to your advantage. So when you're sending out an email campaign from Zoho campaigns, so you can click the campaigns option on the left, click the regular campaigns, and you can create a campaign from the top right. This is the screen you're led to once you've filled out the preliminary information. You can pick from one of the numerous pre-designed templates. We've added a lot more with the new UI that we recently came up with. So you can pick any of these templates that we have, and they're all sorted by category. So I'm going to just pick one of these. And this is what my email template looks like. So I can either add components from the left, or I can customize the components that I previously have with the tools I have on the top. And one of the tools that you might notice is the merge tags option on the top. And once I click that, you will see that there is a long list from which you can pick specific merge tags. And towards the bottom, you'll find the option vCard merge tag. So the right way to use that would be to, let's say I include a text box. Now what I need to do is I need to enter some form of text right here, and then hyperlink one section of the text that I've entered with that particular merge tag. So, let's say this is my text, and I'm going to hyperlink this part with the VCF merge tag. So first let's click on merge tags and click on VCF merge tag, and you will notice that it has appeared right here, and I can just cut it from here and hyperlink it to this particular part. And once I click save, you will be able to see that this part alone is hyperlinked, and I can just send this particular email to my subscribers. And what that does is it automatically creates a VCF card that contains contact information about you, the sender, and it sends it out to all your subscribers and your recipients. And once they receive it, they can download the attachment by clicking on that particular hyperlink, and they can open the attachment. And as soon as they do that, you will be added to their contact list. So every time you're sending an email, they will receive it from one of their contacts. So it will definitely show up only in the inbox and nowhere else. A couple of things to clarify. One, you do not need to physically attach any attachment to your email campaign. You just need to use the merge tag, and it will automatically create an attachment. And that attachment is called a vCard or a VCF card, and it contains contact information about you. It contains your email address and so on and so forth. And it will automatically be generated when you send out the email campaign. And when they receive it, they can just click that particular hyperlink and download the vCard and open it, and you will be added to their contact list. And once that happens, every email you send will definitely end up only in their inbox. So once you're happy with the way your email looks, you can just click save and proceed. And you will be led to this particular window. And on this window, if you notice, there is an option to add pre-header right here. So now I've added the pre-header, and so even before they open this particular email, in their inbox they will find this small piece of text that tells them what the email is about, and that is again a healthy practice to follow. And once that is done, you can just click next, and you will be led to the recipient screen, and you can pick recipients and click next. And once that happens, you will be able to send your email campaign for review, where our team will review the entire email campaign to check if everything is in place and if your emails follow all the regulations that are currently governing email marketing on the whole. And once we've done reviewing, you can send out your email campaign and it will reach all your subscribers. So to do a quick recap, first you have to set up email authentication. Secondly, you need to set up double opt-ins. Thirdly, you need to monitor your subscriber behavior, and then you need to have a prominent unsubscribe button in all your emails. Keep a check on the content and the subject line. Find out the right frequency for all your email campaigns. Try to establish trust with all your subscribers and recipients. So in case you're using your own domain, that's the healthiest practice you can follow. In case you're not, try to let your subscribers and your recipients know that you're using an external service provider for your emails. And after you've followed all those guidelines, you can also include uh, vCards in your emails and make sure that you become part of their contact list. So that's all we have time for right now. In case you have any questions, please feel free to ask us immediately, and we will constantly be answering all your questions. In case you have any feedback about the webinar, if you found it purposeful and informative, you can send me a tweet. My Twitter handle is @SarveshCK. In case you want to clarify your emails via, in case you want to clarify your questions via email, you can send me an email. My email address is sarvesh.ck@zohocorp.com, or you can also send it to support@zohocorp.com. Also, if you want a product demonstration for Zoho campaigns, you can send either of us an email and we would be more than happy to set it up for you. Any form of feedback, once again, will be welcome, and it only helps us make our webinars much better in the future. So, thank you so much for joining us.